Hello and welcome back to another episode. Today I'm thrilled to have my guest, Dr. Amy Beheimer. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about her. She's a pharmacist turned board certified health coach, and she's the host of Autoimmune Health Secrets. So, after her own autoimmune diagnosis, she realized prescriptions and appointments were not the whole answer. And I could not agree more. The real work happens in the habits between visits. And through her coaching program, Club Habit Hub, she helps people build health that's better after a diagnosis than before. So, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Oh, it's my pleasure. So, now you say health is built in the days between doctor's visits. Can you go into that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, we think of our health sometimes by our diagnoses. We think of it, we have our doctors and our support squad that are helping us, but let's say we have a few different specialists and we see them twice a year. We are talking about over 350 days between lab draws, infusions,
Yeah.
doctor visits, therapy appointments. That is where real health is built. And what makes up to 50% of our days, our habits, which is why I love using habits as a vehicle to measure progress, to set goals, and to make them enjoyable, loving. And habits are something proven by research to help our bodies thrive. And there's also a whole body of research on how to change them in a way that actually works. So that's what I'm passionate about is not telling anybody do this, do that, eat that, move this way. I just want everybody to embrace and realize that if it's felt hard in the past, it's not your fault. And there is a way that we can change habits that feels actually pretty darn good. So if we can get 40 to 50% of our days, which are being done on autopilot,
Mm.
doing the things that we want to be doing, and you know what those are, you yourself, then when we show up at those doctor visits, celebrating the things, the changes we've made and the things we're noticing, those are just the bonus benefits to all of it.
I agree. Habits really have more to do with our disease, the manifestation of disease, than our genes. And people don't really understand, probably because it's not been out for that long, the
Yeah.
field of epigenetics, that you may have a genetic predisposition for a condition. But whether or not those genes are turned off or on are based on the habits that you make every day.
Yeah.
So that's certainly an excellent thought. So, what are some of the habits that you see really deteriorating health?
You know, when most people are thinking of habits, you think of what I call outer habits. That's
Hmm.
how we eat, how we move, how we sleep, how we rest, how much stress we have, our relationships. Those are super important and they are super tangible and they're worth looking at. But there's also this whole other half of the pie that is our inner habits. How are we thinking and feeling habitually, right? How are our thoughts and feelings driving what we do? And so a lot of times by the time people find me, they are frustrated because I'm eating this, I'm doing that. I feel like I'm doing all these things, but I still am not better or I still don't feel like I'm healthy. That is a sign that, oh, okay, let's pause and let's look at the internal habits that are driving the rest because we are all walking around thinking and feeling in ways that people may not be able to see, but holy moly, we know how we feel.
Yeah, let's take a little pivot here. Let's go back to our training days. I'm thinking about medical school, pharmacology, all that stuff, and with your
Okay.
pharmacy background. Could you talk a little bit about your pharmacy background and how, I mean, the potential side effects of so many drugs, the
Yeah.
potential interactions of so many drugs, the cost
Yeah.
of so many drugs. Let's talk a little bit about the significance of habit change versus the medications that could have potentially been prevented or even prescribed at a lower dose
Yeah.
based on your pharmacy background.
The first thing for all of us is to catch if we notice we're thinking it's all or nothing. It's this way or that way. I'm going to do this naturally or I'm going to do it with medications. And first, identifying there's a synergy.
Hmm.
The more that we can assist, I do choose to take a disease modifying therapy. I live with multiple sclerosis. And whether it's lifestyle factors, whether it's medications, I want to bring an evidence based approach to the discussion. Because some people, when I meet them, they're like, that's just toxic. I would never do that. And it's not that I'm going to tell anybody what to take or what not to, but
Hmm.
let's make sure we're making the decision off of really good information.
Yes, absolutely.
And so I call my DMT, which is a disease modifying therapy, I call that my defense. I
Mhm.
choose with all the risks and the benefits, I choose, you know what? I think the benefit outweighs the risk here. And I'm going to say yes and sign up that if it doesn't go exactly as I want and perfect, I'm okay with that because the risk of not doing it outweighed the risk of avoiding it. So that's my defense. Then I have my offense. That is where I know you're a sports fan, Cleveland to be exact, but that's my offense. That's what, when I get in there, what am I going to do about this? And so 70 to 90% of the autoimmune equation is our offense. It's how are we thinking? How are we feeling, eating, moving, all these different inputs we have. And so again, back to in between doctor visits where we get to be on offense. We get to take control of the things that we can control because even if it doesn't have an outcome that we would want every single time, it's going to give us our best chance to have that outcome that we want.
Beautifully said. I recently was in an MS summit, and as I did the research, I was kind of hesitant. I'm thinking, okay, so I'm a lifestyle medicine doctor. MS is this very significant condition. Could lifestyle medicine really help? And I was shocked to find all of the literature
Mm,
about habits, the pillars of lifestyle medicine, and how it may decrease symptoms by X percentage or do this by Y percentage.
yeah.
And I was just absolutely amazed. And you make an excellent point, and I want people to really hone in on this. It does not have to be all or nothing. You don't have to throw away your pill bottles and say, okay, I'm going to fix my blood pressure on my own. I'm going to fix this on my own. I'll never forget a woman, I think I was either a fourth year medical student or first year intern. She was in the emergency room. She was at the back corner, probably in her 70s. She had a stroke. Blood pressure was sky high. And I asked her about her blood pressure medicine. She said, oh, I stopped it. I was taking garlic.
Mm,
So the synergy matters. And if there's nothing else that can be done other than potentially decreasing the dose of a medication or taking the same dose and having a better quality of life with the lifestyle changes, there's
yeah.
still a benefit. And so synergy does matter. And certainly always discuss these things with your physician. Don't take any podcast or anything that you've read as the gold standard. You've got to work with your doctor. When you
Well,
talk about chronic conditions,
yeah.
that can be bad.
It's one of the risks of the information overload epidemic that
Yes.
we're in is that if we are getting one-sided information without taking into account us, our preferences, our bodies, it can be dangerous. And I again, I have people that come to find me, well, I read this. And it's like advice is very, very brittle if it's coming from someone who doesn't know you, who doesn't know your situation. And so that is where we can never replace human interaction. We are humans. We need humans to help us. And AI is going to have a role. I just recorded an episode about ChatGPT Health that is here to say what can it do? What can it absolutely not do? And one of those things is even this feeling of belonging, of being seen and heard, and again, interacting with someone who can hear where you are and what that means.
Yes. And interacting, being seen and heard, it just makes me think about connections and how powerful relationships are. Relationships, that loving feeling that releases what we call the love hormone or
Mhm.
oxytocin.
Mhm.
Oxytocin helps counterbalance cortisol, the chronic inflammation hormone that's
Yep.
associated with so many diseases. And, it's really scary to think where we're going in AI. I recently saw this platform that it could take, like, the team is made up of 5 different specialties.
Oh,
And I'm just thinking, all these people, they are going to be out of work. And I saw recently an article that it was predicted that in the next 12 to 18 months, most blue collar jobs will be eliminated. If you're sitting at a desk doing things and, typing, even lawyers, accountants, a lot of this stuff is being replaced. And so, in the midst of this, there is some good information, but human interaction is huge. You don't want to trust your life to a bot.
yeah.
You
Well,
don't.
and yeah, well, back to the research, there is, insurance companies are catching on that, when we can make some of these habits, our costs go down in the long term, hands down. And coaching is one way that we are proving again and again. And I have gotten to be a part of a couple studies that are proving this. And what I worry about with the advent of AI is that same word being used, right? So coaching, maybe
God,
with an
AI
AI.
coaching.
Yeah, and what I worry about is someone will experience that and then say, "Oh, that didn't work." But the piece that is likely going to be missing again is that human component. And there are some things that AI could do, like a reminder or, a very methodical, sterile, accountability. But if
Mhm.
you're ever thinking, okay, something's missing in the support is a human based thing. And, really uh, recognizing exactly what you said, that connection, it's one of the areas of my framework, one of the 6 key areas of lifestyle is connection, because connection with ourselves, with our diagnosis, with others, can be such a powerful, powerful tool to heal and feel better.
Absolutely. So, as you know, knowledge does not mean action.
Mm,
So, you could know I do A, B, C, D, and E, and I can expect this outcome, but people don't do it.
yeah.
So, what do you think is the major holdup when people know what needs to be done, but they just don't get around to doing it?
Yeah, I love this question. And I best describe it. We have 3 body parts at play when it comes to feeling motivated. So when we feel motivated, we act, right? And people are like, oh, I wish I could feel more motivated. There's this old Latin proverb that says, if there's no wind, you have to row. And that makes so much sense, right? So we're waiting for the wind at our back, and we all can think of a time that was like, God, that felt easy. I was so motivated. But breaking it down to learn how to row when it's not naturally easy is where it's at. So the first one is the head, right? We need a belief that it's possible what we want to do, and we need a belief that it matters. So building belief is one step of motivation. And like you said, we can have the knowledge that, eating kale is likely to have less inflammation than eating donuts, or doing our exercises. Like, we can know that in our brain.
Yes.
But we need to get the other 2 body parts, because I said there were 3 for motivation. We need the other 2 body parts on board. The second one is the heart. It needs to be something we desire. It can't be what our doctor's saying. It can't be what our spouse wants us to do. We have to find a way to to drum up the desire for, maybe it's shifting it, maybe it's starting somewhere different, but we need a desire for it, because if we don't want to do it, I promise you it's always going to feel like we're fighting against something. And the third one is the hands, right? Our hands and our action takers, symbolically. And so sometimes it just takes a commitment. It takes signing up for, that coaching program, signing up for that gym membership, signing up for something that will help us live out a commitment that it's going to take. So if you're thinking, why did I not, do that thing? You can ask yourself, is it the belief not there that it really matters, or that it's possible? Is it not something I really want to be doing? And how can I shift that? Or have I just not put myself in a situation to actually make a commitment to let my brain and my body and my bank account and my calendar know I'm serious about this.
Okay. I have another question for you. So, you talk about building health that's better after the diagnosis than before. Could you
Mhm.
expound on that?
It's a tall order, isn't it? I know, I know what that sounds like. Like I mentioned, I live with multiple sclerosis. And so there are parts of me that very arguably are not as healthy as they were before. Nerves not firing, symptoms that are very real. But if I accept the standard definition of health, which in the dictionary is lack of symptoms and lack of disease, then I can never be healthy because I have symptoms and I have a disease. So, with that, it's redefining what is health for me? What is health for you? And redefining it in a way that puts us back in control, that puts us in the driver's seat. So, I call it autoimmune health, and I invite everybody to write their own definition. It's going to be unique. Mine is the pride I feel when I know I'm doing what I can to be my healthiest and to be there for people I love. But the biggest key of that is that we have a diagnosis. There are a whole lot of areas of my health and your health that can get better because of that diagnosis, because we are looking at these habits and food and how we're thinking. And so my gut health has gotten better, my metabolic health has gotten better, my mental, my emotional health, all these different ways because I expanded my definition, made it work for me, and didn't make it dependent on this disease to necessarily be reversed or go away because sometimes that's just not possible and that's okay.
Yeah. I have a lot of memories of patients with various autoimmune diseases, even when I was in primary care. Most of my life as a physician, I spent as a hospital based doctor. But there were so many people who had so much to spare.
Mm,
They don't understand what's going on with me. I'm an internist, I'm not a rheumatologist, a specialist in that. But there was so much emotional turmoil that people felt because this was not okay. This is pneumonia, this is the antibiotic,
yep.
or this is high blood pressure, this is the blood pressure medicine.
Yep.
All the vague symptoms and how things work together and how, between the emotional aspect and the physical manifestation of the condition itself, they can get blurred, those things can get blurry. So, what encouragement would you give to people with autoimmune diseases or an autoimmune disease
Yeah.
that could help that person make tomorrow better than today?
Mm. A lot of different directions we can go, but I always say there's two symptoms that bind those of us with autoimmunity because like you mentioned a rheumatologist, but sometimes it's a GI doctor, sometimes it's a neurologist, sometimes it's an
Mhm.
endocrinologist. I mean, this is spread out across the entire spectrum.
It's true.
But the things that bind us, in my group, I think there are about 10 or 12 different diagnoses represented. And you would think, oh, I need to be learning and in community with people with my diagnosis. Not really, because these two things bind us and make us so human. The first is some level of fatigue at different times. People are exhausted, whether that's mentally, emotionally, physically. And the second one is a level of uncertainty. So that was the big one for me of, well, what's going to happen tomorrow? Is this going to progress? Am I going to get another diagnosis? And so for anybody listening, knowing that that uncertainty is a feeling, that is a habit now. When we get this diagnosis, that's where we go first. It's very natural because there are a lot of questions. But when we can say, oh, uncertainty is just where my body goes because that's what it knows, but that is a habit that can be changed just like any other one. Just like eating more vegetables, just like being consistent with a workout program. If we decide, okay, I want to habitually feel more certain, we can do that. We can get the repetitions in to shift our mindset, to put ourselves in more certainty. And that sounds kind of vague until you try it. But even right now, what are 10 things you're certain about? And Make yourself come up with 10. It could be that I'm certain I'm drinking this coffee. I am certain that I love my children. I am certain of these different things. Come up with 10, 20. If you don't think you can come up with 20, come up with 100. And what you're doing is you're putting your body in that state of certainty so that it starts to become comfortable with it. And it's not that we're not ignoring the parts that are uncertain, but we want to remind our bodies that this feeling is available to us as well. We just have to get creative and find it in different ways. And so when we can more habitually, again, tap into these emotions that are more healing and less inflammatory, that adds up over time. It may start right now just while you're making the list. But I promise you, your body doesn't know the certainty from saying that the sky is blue today versus, the certainty of something else. All it knows is that emotion. And so really looking at these different ways to build certainty, even in the face of uncertainty, because we all have it as humans. It just is a little bit more in our face living with the diagnosis.
Certainly. Thank you for that.
You're
Thank you
welcome.
for your encouraging words.
Thank you.
What else do you want to share with the audience today?
Maybe, we were talking about that motivation and, maybe just planting a little seed of belief. If it feels like you don't feel motivated to do some of these lifestyle shifts or changes, planting that seed of belief and nurturing it that what you do does matter. It does matter. And that tiny steps make a difference. Because if we believe that, I call it trusting in the tiny, it's a strategy we use. And if we believed that we can trust in tiny steps, we would take more tiny steps. But sometimes I think we don't do the small things because there's just this nagging disbelief that this is really going to make a difference. And so really just practicing, getting the repetitions in to make that the habitual thought of this 2-minute workout does matter. And this one mindset shift in this moment to write down 10 things that are certain, this tiny thing does matter. And starting with the belief we're never going to go wrong if we can start there.
Okay. You mentioned your group. Tell us about your group. You said that you have people with autoimmune diseases, all sorts of diseases. Tell us more about that.
Sure. It's called Club Habit Hub, the club for short. And it really was, I created it. I went first, right? So for 14 years, I've been on this journey of what helps us feel and function better with autoimmune disease. Like that's my main mission is I want to feel good and I want to do what I can to make sure my body's functioning the very best it can. And so year by year, I started, with the evidence-based medicine of, okay, what are these things and how do we actually do it? And so for the past, almost 4 years now, I've created a container, a way to say, I want to learn this different approach where there is live coaching, human coaching from me, that is really working through your questions, your struggles. There is a beautiful community inside there. Again, using what we know about science and how when we do this in front of others, it can help build our belief that it's possible. And then there's a curriculum, so workshops and tools and frameworks and structures that I've taught in the past that we can pull out to learn in between. But the end goal is we come together, we say, what do I want to change? What plan do I want to make? And then how do we actually follow through on it? And then we repeat because that's what we get to do. Health is an ongoing journey. And so we need to figure out a way to do it in a way that feels good. And so that's what I offer is, this, I call it the support trifecta, the coaching, the community, and the curriculum that helps us be proud of our role in our health.
How can listeners access the hub?
Oh, sure. It's on my website, www.amybeheimercoaching.com/join. Or on the website, you can navigate your way around, but that's where you can read more about it. You can also book a call if you want to talk about if it's right for you. We can talk about it. Like you mentioned, you're going to be soon going to be a guest on Autoimmune Health Secrets. That's another place to hang out. And yeah, it's a beautiful community being curated, and just would love to reach anybody who's at least curious of, okay, maybe there is a different way. Let's lean into that for sure.
Okay. So, for you listening who want this information, I'm going to have her repeat it. Go get a pencil or pen or pull out your iPhone.
Yeah.
My husband's an Android guy, but
Uh-oh.
whatever you have. And so I'm going to give you a moment to do that. But in the interim, while they're getting all this information together, can you tell me if there is one or two, if there's a single thing that really stands out as far as the emotional barriers, as far as what people with autoimmune diseases that you know of deal with? What is a common thread?
I would say that overall exhaustion, that whether it's mental, emotional, physical, energy is our most precious currency, because when we don't have energy, then we can't show up in our life how we want to show up. And so I promise you that habits are energy's best friend.
Mm.
They not only conserve energy, because when we are in the grip of a habit, your brain gets to power down and it gets to kind of not spend a ton of energy, useless energy, on thoughts that are spinning. And again, this fatigue it uses up our energy. But habits can also help us create more energy, because as we one by one introduce habits in our lifestyle that feel good, that energy bank starts to build up and build up. And so I think that the commonality is, I don't have the energy to even think about it. This is just so too much. And sometimes we have to give a little to get back a whole lot more. So the energy you give, if you give it to a place that um, you're feeling drawn to, and that has you inspired to keep taking action, back to what we talked about, it does pay. It's an investment. You're not spending energy together, we're investing, because we know we're going to get a whole lot back in the future. So just that hope that there is a different way. And for me, it was, I could eat perfect, move, did all check, check, check. For me, it was the drains in my energy from my thinking and my feeling, that mindset piece. And so, it's not, we're not born with positive thinking or not. It's a very teachable approach to build habits that are better in our thinking and feeling, kind of how we talked about.
Okay. So, because people may not understand how to spell your name,
Break it down.
I
Got
want
it.
you to just spell your URL.
Okay. www.amy, B as in boy, EHI, M as in Mary, ER, coaching.com.
So,
www.amybeheimercoaching.com. And if you
wonderful.
do, oh, sorry, and if you do /join, that is for information on the club.
Mhm.
And really fun, because we're live in February, I'm hosting a consistency challenge for March that bakes all of this. It's going to be so fun. You get to pick one habit, whether it's a thought, feeling, or action, and
Mhm.
we spend the month together making that habit inevitable. And for that, it's /challenge. So www.amybeheimercoaching.com /challenge. And you can read about that. So those are just a couple ways to, experience some of this that hopefully sounds different, because we want different. Different's good.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
One more thing before I let you go. Social media handles where people can follow you.
Sure. I am on Instagram at Amy Beheimer Coaching. At Amy Beheimer Coaching. Yep. And then again, the podcast is Autoimmune Health Secrets, and it's on all of your platforms, and you'll get to come here, Coach Dr. Ann.
Hey.
Hey, all full circle.
Well, Dr. Beheimer, I want to thank you so much for your input and for all that you're doing. Your take on things, not only is it knowledgeable with your background, but it's so valuable.
Mm.
And I say that as someone who has taken care of many, many, many people with autoimmune diseases, and I've seen what it did to them emotionally as well as physically, and having that layer of support, that alone can help some of the symptoms.
Yeah. Yeah.
So thank you for all you're doing, and
Thank
thank you for being on the show, and
thank
you
you.
have a blessed day.
You too. Thank you so much.